The FNL Network Talk Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the FNL Network Talk Show. I am your host, Diana Jebbia, and I am joined by Kat Jollies today. You're in for a treat because it's the Diana and Kat show. So hopefully we can make your getting ready for Thanksgiving week a little more fun. And we know you're busy, so we're going to make sure that we catch you up on the news. That way you don't have to do all that research yourself. How are you doing, Kat?
Great. I mean, as everyone knows, I wasn't here last week, so I am refreshed. I'm happy to be back and I'm ready to talk. So
amazing. Yeah, and we have a lot to talk about today. So how about we jump right in?
I would love that.
All right. So first thing I want to bring up, which this has been affecting so many people and now like so many industries. Taylor Swift announced a concert and she literally broke the world. Like, forget break the internet, which she did break Ticketmaster, but she is just breaking fans. Like, she's just going, one announcement is just like setting off like a chain reaction. So she announced that tour. Tickets went up on pre-sale on Ticketmaster, and there was such a high demand for it. But by the time they got past the pre-sale and the regular on-sale event, they had to cancel it. This is the first time really anything like this has ever happened. Originally, she didn't make a statement on it, and then just a few days later, she commented saying she was frustrated by the event. But there's also, which we'll get into, there's something called dynamic pricing, which she had control over. So basically what I want to know is, do you think this whole thing is out of control? Or maybe there's like an artist that you've gone to extreme measures to get tickets. Like, what's your thought on this situation? Do you think Taylor's statement was sufficient? What do you think?
God, there's so many different areas to look at when you come to this, because Taylor Swift is a huge artist. She hasn't been on tour for a while. She has fans that she's had for 2 decades, something like that, and she is a high demand artist. And yes, her pre-sales were for the fan group and everyone got given codes, but this is 2022. People kind of don't have much money right now. You can sell these codes, you know. There is scammers. We all know that there's so much fraud about on the internet right now. And I think she was a bit naive and stupid. I'm sorry, Taylor. I think you're a bit naive and stupid. You didn't do your homework properly. You've got 22 days. I think it's 22 days that she's doing at the moment. I might be wrong. But yeah. I think it's 22. And you know you're going to have millions of people all trying to go on the internet. The internet is not unbreakable. It often breaks when, for example, Amazon Prime, when they have a day, often the site will go down. Black Friday, sites go down. I think she was a bit naive and stupid. I also think Ticketmaster are also at fault because they were like, yeah, we can deal with it. We can do it. Not a problem. We have technology that nobody else has got. But the thing is, nothing's unbreakable. And it doesn't matter. You can have the best technology in the world, but Taylor Swift has millions of fans. On top of that, we have scammers. As we all know, every single social media site has bots. You know, it's modern 2022. There is scammers, there is bots, and I think everyone was a bit naive and stupid. Now, I don't think Taylor's not to blame. I think she has to accept some blame, because I think, yeah, she was, like I said, a bit naive and a bit stupid, thinking that Ticketmaster could handle it all. What would have been more appropriate, if you're thinking of volume of traffic, would be, okay, I've got 22 dates, let's release it over, say, 5 days or whatever, to keep the volume down. And then perhaps you have tiers of fans. I don't know how her fan group works, but you can release codes at different times of the day to try and keep it like that. But release them like 5 minutes before. Don't release them a day in advance. Don't release them a week in advance. I don't know how long these codes were out there. But I think there is more that could have been done. And I think the fact she's kept quiet for so long and then she comes out, I'm so disappointed in Ticketmaster. She shoved all the blame on them. And yeah, Ticketmaster, they are huge. They handle so many artists, but they're not unbreakable. And when you look at history, all the time, even when we old school, when we were picking up the phone and calling and calling and calling, you'd like, instead of being on hold, you'd put down and you'd pick up again, and you have to keep doing that. So when you're on the internet, you have to refresh, because otherwise you just get stuck in this queue. And when you've got people that, are refreshing the whole time, and we refresh every few seconds sometimes just to try and get through on the system, you are going to break things.
Yeah.
And I think as an artist, yes, she is there to perform, but her team, they should have probably tried to do more research, come up with a better plan of action, because she is huge. She's so global. And, with the pandemic and everything else, she's not toured for years.
Right.
And I just think it could have been handled differently by her team. I think that Ticketmaster could have handled things differently. And I think you have to accept that we live in a corrupt world. We do have scammers. There's tickets on line already that are going for 42,000 and upwards for 2 tickets. I mean, hello, Taylor, I don't think you're worth 42,000.
No,
I don't. I could.
That's a
God,
college
I could live
tuition.
a few years for that. I just think it's crazy. And we are in a world right now where we all have suffered financially because of the pandemic. We have inflation. We have all the effects of the wars that are going on in Europe. People don't have money. Of course, people are going to buy tickets and buy more than they need and then sell them. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just a bit naive and stupid. I just think probably should have done her homework more, and she should have broken up the sales over a few days. Like, okay, we're going to do the East Coast today, we'll do Central America the next day, and I think that perhaps there should have been a fan lottery for codes. So you have this lottery, a certain group of people are going to get the codes, and you tell them the codes are going to come out at 10 o'clock that day, and you send them out. The people are going to be there ready and waiting, and then they're going to go on. But you kind of structure it so someone gets the codes at 10, someone gets them at like 10:30, and it just makes a lot more sense than, hey everyone, have your code, go and try and get tickets, and good luck to you all. I just think there needed to be more thought process. And
it's almost like the Taylor Swift Hunger Games in a way. Because it's just like you're selected, and now you fend for yourself, and whatever happens, happens. If they got to kick and scream their way to the top and step on you, like, so be it.
I mean, it's like the online version of the worst Black Friday in Walmart, where people are brawling on the floor, and the police are involved and everything else, and everyone's got something to say on it. Bruce Springsteen, he said something about it. Jimmy Fallon's had it in his notes on his show, that he writes letters. And I know from Ticketmaster and stuff, I don't know if this was happening with Taylor's, but as the tickets become less and less, the prices go up.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about that dynamic pricing. And it's funny you mentioned Springsteen, because he's guilty of this too. So basically, artists, when they work with Ticketmaster, they get the option to opt into dynamic pricing, which is just what you beautifully explained. Like, as the demand rises, and the tickets become less and less, the price goes higher. Whereas if they didn't opt into dynamic pricing, it would be like in the past where everyone in the front row pays, I don't know, $400, and everyone in the back pays maybe like 75. And then the prices just increases the closer you get. And what upsets me is that I feel like Taylor's fans don't hold her accountable. I feel like they think she can do no wrong ever. And you know what? I love Billie Eilish, but Billie opted into dynamic pricing, and I had to get my Billie tickets from another website. Was I a little pissed off about that? Absolutely. I know it's a business, but like, I'm not going to kiss her butt all day and be like, she can do no wrong. I think part of being a fan is holding the person you're a fan of accountable. And she's just, I mean, I'm biased because I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I don't know if you couldn't tell. But I just feel like no matter what she does, whether it's her fans going out and trolling her exes on Instagram, like look at Jake Gyllenhaal. They were all like trolling his Instagram account. She never says, guys, stop. You know, she turns a blind eye, and then when she wants to pay attention, she does. And when she wants to pay attention, there's usually money involved. And I felt really bad for all the fans that were affected by this, because when you have a musician that means a lot to you, you know, I had mentioned Billie Eilish before. That's someone I've waited for on the Ticketmaster queue. Danny Elfman recently, I was in a pre-sale for him. And you have your heart set on seeing them live, and it doesn't happen because of something so stupid as lack of organization and lack of planning with ticket sales. It's got to be like heart crushing. So I really do feel bad for her fans, but at the same time, they got to step up and call her out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like after this, I mean, with her statement, she didn't say, look, guys, you know, she's like, going forward, I'm going to try and find solutions, but there was no, I'm going to take some of the blame for maybe not thinking this through enough. And, you know, as a performer, your fans are disappointed. Everyone who's not in your fan club, they haven't got a hope in hell of getting tickets. What I would do as a performer, add some more dates. Do something that says, look, guys, I am so sorry what happened. I want to give more people a chance. We're going to do a few more dates. We're going to release tickets, you know, a different date, and this will be for people that are not in the fan group, to give other people a chance. And, you know, it's like, try and do different parts of America. Taylor Swift is so huge. People are going to get on a plane. People are going to travel and fly to see. You know, it's like with Harry Styles, people saw him like 15 nights in a row at Madison Square Gardens. How they had the money to do that, I don't know. And people like fly here, there, and everywhere to see them. And I just think, you know, Taylor, going back to the dynamic pricing, you have more money than you will ever know what to deal with. Your private jet, we're not even going to go on to that, because carbon emissions and everything else, she's one of the most guilty. She does say that she lends it out, but come on, guys. And I'm just going to say, you have so much money. You don't need to do dynamic prices. You make money off merchandise. You know, the venues, they sell food for extortionate prices. How greedy are you? You're a performer. I know that you don't get the same revenue now from your music playing on radio and streaming, because the licensing all changed. And I know that, you know, going on tour, it's your bread and butter, but you can live for the rest of your life 5 times over on the money that you've got in the bank. Stop being so greedy. And I think a lot of these artists are guilty. You're doing a job that you adore. And if you're just doing it for the dollar, then it's time to go. You've got to do it because you're passionate.
Yeah. Just one more thought I wanted to bring up on that, which it kind of ties into what you said with the greed. And you brought up the verified fan codes before. I noticed that, because I'm in a lot of Facebook groups where there are a lot of Taylor fans. And I noticed that one of the things to get the codes, like one of the incentives, was if you bought merchandise from her. So now you're buying merchandise, and a lot of people would post like, did you get your code? And people weren't getting their codes, or they were waitlisted for one or whatever, something like that. I don't know the exact how it works. But my point is, it's like, now you're taking money from your fans with the promise of this exchange for a code. I don't know if Ticketmaster had any pull in that or whatever, but you're kind of almost, in my eyes, taking advantage of the people who love you so much.
That's horrific. It's like, oh my, it's like dangling a carrot in front of a donkey. It's to be honest, it more or less feels like theft. Because you're like, hey, have a cheap sweater, because they're not expensive. Come on. But there's, you know, with some really bad, I don't know, plastic printing on, I can't remember what it's called. But, you know, these things are not expensive to make. You know, say it costs $5 to make it and you sell it for $100. Oh, and then you can have a code. But, oh, sorry, the website crashed. I'm sorry, that is thieving. You've just taken $100 off someone, and they probably were not going to spend that on a jumper that says, I love Taylor.
Yeah.
I'm actually horrified by that.
I actually want to look up, because I want to look into how all that exactly works, just because it's interesting. And it's like you're saying, it's stuff. And I'm like, how did she get away with it?
It more or less feels fraudulent, especially if they didn't get the code. Wow. I'm shocked. Taylor, stop on that.
Okay, so I'm looking at Reddit, and it just says, how much did the boost from the merch store pre-sale help? Curious to see if the folks who got pre-selected for verified fans were all boosted one way or another. And people are just commenting. So it says, and these are all people on Reddit, so this doesn't represent everyone, but of the folks who got a verified fan, about 60% of people had the boost, whatever that means. I'm assuming it gets you closer to your ticket sales. And 413 people didn't have a boost, but still got verified fan. So I guess there are different levels. That's where I'm mistaken of how it all works, but still it just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't seem.
It doesn't feel right at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't, no, there's something feels so wrong about that.
Yeah. Then this is, as third-party sellers, this is Wall Street Journal, look to make thousands on Taylor Swift tickets. Fans who couldn't secure seats for are turning their disappointment into cheeky merchandise that takes aim at ticketing sites. That's kind of funny, actually. They're making sure to say, like, I survived the Great War and whatever. That's funny. But I know we could talk about this all day, and it's really fascinating as technology progresses, but I do want to move on because obviously Thanksgiving is coming up. Whether you're traveling or you're like cooking at home or whatever, people are running around like chickens without their head cut off, or with their head cut off, or maybe turkeys with their head cut off. But I read online that 54.6 million people will be traveling for Thanksgiving. So I want to know, what are your plans this year? Are you traveling? Are you staying local? Do you have any advice for anyone traveling, even if it's not flying on a plane? Because I remember growing up, we would go to my Aunt Mildred's in Long Island, and going from Staten Island to Long Island was like a 4-hour ordeal if there was traffic, when it should really only be an hour and a half. So what are your thoughts?
Okay, so my first one is, don't do it, don't travel, don't go near LAX, because I had a bad experience, and this is why I'm like, don't go anywhere near LAX, because my mum was flying in, and it just so happened she's flying in on Thanksgiving, and it was when I first moved here, and she was having problems having her fingers scanned, you know, like they scan your fingers, your thumbprints and stuff, and you come in. So my mum's, with her illness, she gets very dry skin. Anyway, so I was waiting for her for like 6 hours, no joke. And so we go back, and I'm like really frustrated because I think, you know, my mum's not sure if she's going to be turned around, put on a plane to go home. Anyway, she finally comes through, and we go to my car, and I'm not going to curse. I want to curse, but I'm not going to. Some person has rammed my car with a luggage cart, and it had this biggest scrog all down it. So on top of paying extortionate prices for parking at LAX for God knows how many hours I was there, my car was severely damaged, and it was a massive paint job. And, you know, not even a note like, sorry, I've damaged your car or whatever. So yeah, I will not go near LAX. If anybody wants to come visit me, you get a bloody Uber. So it's not going to happen. But I'm going to say traveling this year, from what prices are sky high, because, you know, gas is, you know, the prices are up here right now. We all know what it costs to fill a car up right now, or just think what it costs to fill a plane up. And it's really busy. I kind of think, to me, I mean, I'm not American, I get it's a massive holiday, but it's just another day of the year. Perhaps, you know, go see your family a week later and have, you know, a week then. I know it's a massive thing, and it's more important to Americans than Christmas, but I'm like, if you don't have to travel, don't do it. There's so many accidents. You look at the weather in New York right now, Buffalo's had like 6 foot of snow in like, I don't know, 24 hours or something ridiculous. And I'm just thinking, you know, from that perspective, is it worth it? You know, the hassle of being at the airport, the flight delays, everything else. I mean, to me, it's not worth going through that. It really isn't. You know, Thanksgiving, I think it's a beautiful time. You know, it's whether or not you're spending it with friends or you're spending it with family. You know, it's a nice time to just eat, to chill out, have a day off, do something that you enjoy. But I think the hype with all the travel, and I have to be here, and you know, just for me, it's a no. For me, it's too stressful.
Yeah. My advice would be, if you are to go to LAX and you could be an early bird, take a really early flight. So my first year here in 2019, I went home on Thanksgiving, but I was at LAX at 2 a.m. And then I think my flight was at like 4. So by the time I was done traveling, it was like 8 LA time, but 11 like Eastern. So I was home just in time for dinner. It was like fabulous, like starting the food and the festivities. It's funny to say dinner at like noon, but on Thanksgiving, like it is an indulgent holiday. It's more than one course, and we're Italian on top of that. So you know it's going to be like multiplied off the normal amount. So like I walked in the house, mom's got the food all set up, and it's like, all right, we're eating. And you know what? I was probably in bed by 8 o'clock that night, and I was totally okay with it because I had stuffed my face. So I think kind of picking an odd flight kind of works in your favor. I remember we skated down the freeway to LAX, like there was no traffic whatsoever because it was so early in the morning. Getting through security, I mean, I had pre-check, but there was like not a soul in that airport. It was maybe like me and like 5 other people, and that was just perfect. And then if you're traveling in a car, I just think the earlier you can leave, like I kind of mentioned with the plane, like the earlier you can leave, the better. Because, like, let's face it, everyone's going to want to head out at the same time and hit traffic. If you do live in New York and you're headed towards the city, the parade's going to be going on, streets are going to be shut down. So, like, if you can even go a day before, it might be beneficial to do that and just stay in a hotel somewhere or stay with family. Or like even, I don't know, carpool with like your family and kind of figure it out together, save gas, you know, save time. Just because traveling is, it's not what it used to be. Like it used to be a pain, and now it's even more of a pain, especially as you mentioned with the gas prices rising and kind of just everyone. We didn't get to see our family for a couple of years. Like some of us did do the holidays last year, but some people didn't get to with Omicron going around. So I think everyone's really jonesing to get out and see their family this year. And it's like, definitely do that, but you got to be smart about it.
I think you had the right idea. Travel on Thanksgiving Day if you do it early, because no one actually wants to travel on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
You know, they start going on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because they take a few days off work and make it a week-long event, you know. And at home, I remember going on holiday with my mum, and we actually flew out on Christmas Day, and the airport was dead. And it was great because, you know, we didn't mind that we're flying out Christmas Day. It was absolutely great, you know, and it just saved on all the stress of all that because it was all empty. And the thing I'm going to say right now is LA traffic is going to be amazing. So it is in our city. It is the time of year where you can actually like, oh, I can go see a friend this afternoon. And it doesn't take you 2 hours to get there. It takes you like half an hour instead. And I think actually if you are in LA this week, it's a good time to catch up with people. It's a good time to actually see friends because we're not stuck in gridlock, and the freeways are going to be great. So
I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually, this is going to be my first Thanksgiving without my family ever. I'm staying in LA. And my friend Victoria and I made reservations at Beauty in Essex, and we're going to go have Thanksgiving dinner in Hollywood.
Nice. I love that. I mean, I haven't given it a thought. I haven't, and it's more because it's my first Thanksgiving and Christmas without my dog, and I just kind of, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just kind of going to do whatever comes along. So we'll see.
Exactly.
But I've not planned it because I'm kind of, I just want to go with the flow. It's like if I feel like doing something, I'll do something. If I don't, I don't.
I love that. That's like the best way to be. Just like wake up, see how you feel, and have a great day no matter what you decide. So I do want to get into Twitter because that is a literal dumpster fire, like a literal dumpster fire. Elon Musk purchased it last week. Soon as he purchased it, he laid off about half the company. I don't remember the exact number. I want to say it was like 3,600, maybe 3,400. Almost 4,000 people he laid off. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, he put out this email to his remaining staff and was like, you have to do hardcore, I'm quoting it, like hardcore work. We need to make Twitter. I forgot the word he used, but he just wants it to be like the best thing. So he pretty much laid out that he expects them to work long hours, like nonstop, to get it at the level he wants. And then once they read that email, they had until Thursday, so this past Thursday, to decide whether they wanted to stay on or take 3 months severance. And what do you know? A lot of people were like, I'm out of here, because they value themselves rather than their work. So kudos to them. But I want to know, because there's just so much going on. I forgot to mention, there was the blue check of it all. So for like a day, because that went out over like a fart in church, like you could buy your verification for $8 a month. And then people were impersonating companies, and like people who aren't wise enough to check out the page or whatever, they were believing them, and those companies' stocks were just like going down. It was, again, another chain reaction. What are your thoughts? Do you think Twitter is going to be around much longer? Is there any hope?
Okay, so I think Twitter has been fairly dead for a long time. I mean, it's like, if you look at social media, what do you use? You use Instagram, you use TikTok. Snapchat's even kind of died off.
Yeah.
But, Facebook is just adverts and marketplace. You never see what people are up to. Twitter, I find it boring. It stagnated a long time ago. No one wants to see, went to the shop today, done this today. We live in a visual society. We live in a society where the attention span is quick. We need like little bits of information, but no one wants to read stuff. People don't read anymore. They want to be on YouTube. They want to be on TikTok watching funny videos. It's like Instagram reels and stuff. I kind of, because I like Instagram pictures more. But the world is too visual. Twitter has to change. Twitter, where you send out basically a text message to your global audience, is stagnant. It's dead. It's passé. And I think, how many people are on Twitter? Not many. I mean, I have a Twitter account. I didn't use it for about 7 years. And then I decided that I would try and use it just to connect with more people. And have I connected with anybody? No, there's nobody. I don't feel like anybody's on it. I feel like someone posts on Instagram that automatically goes through to Twitter, but they don't ever go onto Twitter and see. I think Musk, he's a genius. Like, he's done something right, and he is one of these people that works 24/7, and he's got that work ethic. And I think he's going to revamp it. I think he needs to rebrand it, though. I don't think Twitter can stay with the Twitter brand. I think he's got to use what he's got. He's got to develop it, and he's got to change the name or something, because Twitter just has, I'm turning my nose up when I say it, it's Twitter. I mean, it just stagnated. I mean, it's dead. And I know lots of celebrities and stuff have left, and because they, don't want to pay for the verification code. I know that Donald Trump, he's had his account reinstated. I mean, Twitter had a lot of hate on it, and there needs to be some regulation. There can't be gay bashing on Twitter. It kind of needs to be a place where everyone feels comfortable, but it needs to be more exciting. It's boring. Very. I have no idea why he bought it. If I had 44 billion, I would not invest in Twitter unless I had really smart idea. And I think, he's already said that he wants to work short term at the company and then put his attention elsewhere. But I think that's Elon Musk. I don't think we can read too much into that. I think he's a guy who's like, okay, I'm going to do SpaceX today. Tesla's doing all right. So, that can run itself. I want a challenge. Let's revamp Twitter. And, good luck to him. I think he's doing something right in life. So I think watch this space. But if Twitter doesn't change, it is gone, it's buried, it's in the ground, probably being eaten by worms, because it's a corpse. That's what it is right now. It's a corpse of a social media site.
It's funny you say that, because so I have two accounts. I have my professional account, which I do agree, not much is going on in that realm. But then I have my personal account, which I have had since 2008. I'm an OG Twitter tweeter. And that one is popping. It is on and popping. There is tea being spread. There are memes going around. All my friends are on there. And that one is so much fun because it's not being taken seriously. And I feel like I go on Twitter, I'll open up the app and I always get a laugh somehow. Like some accounts are just so creative. Like there's one, I think it was called like Real Housewives Out of Context and like Vanderpump Rules Out of Context. And they'll watch the show with subtitles on, but pick like the most random ones and post it. And it's like just silly quotes, you know, that don't make any sense. And they'll post it and stuff like that, like cracks me up. There was one, this is years ago, I followed it. This was back, I think it was Hurricane Sandy when it hit New York, and Mayor Bloomberg had to speak in English and in Spanish. And his Spanish was so hard. Like it was the talk of the town because his Spanish was awful. But someone made a parody account called Miguel Bloombito, and they tweet out like the terrible botched out Spanish, like stuff, random stuff, but like in a botched out Spanish. And I just think that's the most entertaining thing. Like that side of Twitter, the funny side, the joking side, I love that. I hope that Elon doesn't go and ruin it by like firing, like talk about, you know, biting the hand that feeds you. These people built up the app and now you're going to fire them all. And a lot of people are worried that the site is going to crash just because will they have enough volume? Will they have enough support and workers to keep it running? You know, today their copyright check, I just saw, it's not working. So people are posting movies, 2-hour-long movies to Twitter, and there's nothing to flag it and take it down as copyright. I don't know if that's necessarily because he fired that team or whatever, or there's not enough people to pay attention to it, but clearly something's wrong. And I like you said, I wish him the best. I hope it goes well, but like, it is a dumpster fire, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't enjoying it, because like, kind of funny to see the stuff going down.
Well, I'm going to say about the firing of people, I'm going to, like the last few years, people's work ethic has changed. And I think, you know, like before the pandemic, we kind of came in, you worked hard, you did your job. Now we're so used to just being sidetracked that, you know, you'll be doing your job. Like I know that I'm doing casting submissions or I'm trying to learn lines for an audition, but I go onto Instagram and then I'll check this and I'll check that because my focus is no longer there. And I think Ellen, by firing people, he's trying to wake the other people up, because at the moment, you know, you're paying for a full workforce, but you're probably getting a 50% actual work rate because people are like, yeah, just check into that, you know, see what my friend's up to, you know, look at TikTok, and we just get engrossed in other stuff. I mean, I'm guilty for it. I know that loads of other people are guilty, especially now with this work from home. And I know one of the things is everyone comes back to the office. I think he wants more control of, you know, the workforce that he's got. And I think he's trying to shape people up. I think there probably is enough manpower. I think that people we just don't have the focus and the work ethic that we did have. And that's nobody's fault. It's what we've all been through in the last few years, you know, and it hasn't changed people.
I'm sure that's part of it, but I did read a lot of the people he let go of was like upper management. So I think while that could be some of it, I think it was very ego driven. And he's like, you made the rules. Like now I'm the big boy in town, like you're gone. And he's replacing with his people. So obviously you and I are both never going to know what goes behind the doors at that boardroom, if there even is a boardroom and it's a virtual boardroom or whatever. But I know I'm going to be sitting eating my popcorn watching this all play out.
No, definitely. I mean, it's going to go one way or the other. Either he's going to make a massive success of it, or it's going to be the biggest laughing stock that there is about, you know. I mean, 44 billion on a company that is going down the flush right now.
Yeah. Talk about money to burn. All right. Well, the last thing I want to touch on, because we're getting into the holiday season, that means Christmas movies are coming up. Candace Cameron Bure, you might know her as DJ Tanner from Full House, because that's really honestly the only super significant thing she did, not to be rude. But she was starring in a lot of Hallmark movies. And this year she made the transition from Hallmark to the Great American Family Channel. That is a mouthful. And the CEO of the Great American Family Channel used to work at Hallmark, and he left And one of the reasons that he left Hallmark was when the channel started promoting diversity and inclusion, that wasn't really his jam. So he wanted to start this new network. So I'm sure Candace Cameron Bure was offered a nice paycheck. Listen, you go where the money goes. I can't blame you for that. But it was her comments about the type of movies they're putting out. So someone asked, like, I forget how they phrased it, but just basically, is there going to be more diversity, whether that's like a marriage, like a gay marriage, like representation of the LGBTQIA plus community? Is there going to be representation with that? And she said the network's going to focus on traditional marriage, which, like, talk about putting your foot in your mouth. Like, not everything you have in your head needs to be said, especially on a platform that affects so many people. Listen, I get we're all allowed to have our opinion. That's what makes everything so great. If everyone thought the same way, it would be terrible. But when it comes to human rights, which I do believe marriage is a human right, you should love whoever you want to love. You know what I mean? I just think she could be a little more open-minded about it. And she did make a statement saying she does love everyone. And there was a part of the interview that said that they would be players on and off the camera with, you know, more of a diverse focus, but the main focus would be on a man and a woman marriage. But I don't know. I just think it's 2022. Like, Candace, you got to get with the program. Either you get on the train or the train's going to leave without you and people are going to be pissed at you. And right now, it's the latter of that.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this because a lot of it has to do with the demographic of the audience for that channel. And I'm going to say there is still a lot of discomfort, you know, with the gay community. There's people that are against it. There's people that actively are so horrified by gay relationships, trans relationships. They don't agree with that kind of marriage. You know, there's a lot of religious people that don't agree with that. And we look at what happened in the last, 24 hours in Colorado. There was a hate crime and it happened at a, you know, LBGQT plus nightclub. And I think they killed like 5 people, injured like 18 more. And it was purely a shooter going out because they hate that community. And I'm sorry to say, we do, you know, live in a society still where there's a lot of people like that. And I think, you know, we're very lucky, you know, New York, LA, London, things like that. Everybody's super open-minded. Everyone's so open to it, you know, but there is parts of, I'm going to say parts of middle America where, you know, it's not okay. And, you know, like, I used to live in the center of West Hollywood, right behind all the gay bars, and I loved it. And, you know, Pride was just on my doorstep. But, you know, there was protesters there because they don't think this is right. And like you, I think, you know, everybody should be allowed to have a relationship, man, woman together, man together, girl together, trans, whatever. You know, just as long as everybody's happy. But I think there is so much negativity about it still. And I think it's so backward and I think it's just horrible. And we have so many countries still where, you know, you cannot be gay. I mean, like when I was in Cape Town, a lot of my friends that were gay, you know, they still had, when they were growing up, gay conversion and all that sort of thing. And, you know, it's only just recently that 2 good friends of mine, they're like brothers, they actually got married when they were like 50. And, you know, because they could never do it before, you know, they couldn't really be open about their relationships. And I've got a lot of gay friends over there because, you know, I worked in fashion and all that. And I just think we unfortunately live in a society where people still are like, man should be together, woman should be together, and they should have their kids, you know, 2.4 children and have the house. And people just won't accept a person for who it is. And I think the society we live in, where we have celebrities that are gender fluid, celebrities that are, you know, bisexual, I think it's great, but you're not going to change people, especially like some of the older generations. And I think maybe this American whatever channel, I've never heard of it in my life. But I think maybe they are going towards their demographic of audience. And, you know, they're not going to play Brokeback Mountain. They're not going to have the shows where it is, you know, gays living together. And if we look at actually Hollywood, how many films have we got that are actually about, well, say a gay relationship, a lesbian relationship, where we actually see them get married and live together and adopt a kid? Not many. I think people are still scared to say, hey, everybody, this is okay, we embrace it, because the film industry, Hollywood, TV, it's a money-making machine. They don't want to offend people. And by cutting out what could be offensive to some, it's bringing in the cha-ching, 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 because, you know, and I think it's unfortunate. I think it's sad. I think, you know, bring it on. I think we do need a gay Christmas movie. And I want to be like the bridesmaid for this amazing gay wedding.
You know, you bring up a lot of good points. And to the people who are still arguing this fundamental human right, I say to them, how sad does your life have to be that you are so concerned what people do with their relationships? Like, it's literally none of your business. And to them, I say, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. Look, and this is an extreme example, obviously, with the tragedy in Colorado last night. That shooter had to have a lot of problems, you know, and like maybe some inner work and some therapy was needed, but instead, like, just did the worst possible thing because it was just so driven by hate. And it's so ironic that these hateful acts, even if it's just hate speech on Facebook, you click on their profile and it's like, I love God, like live by God. And it's like, I thought that God told you to love everyone. I'm not the most religious person, but the last time I checked, that was what he told everyone. So you seem a little hypocritical to me. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I mean, I think if a new Bible came out today and it was not Adam and Eve, it was like Bob and Dylan.
Yeah.
Okay, not Bob Dylan, but Bob and Dylan. Okay, so if that was the start of mankind, people would accept it. I think writing a new Bible, I think we need to update things. This religious manual that people are, but in the Bible it says, no, somebody needs to go out there and write a brand new version. And perhaps, you know, we do have the Adam and Eve, and we have the Bob and the Dylan, and we have like Eve and Alexis. And I think we need to kind of just have these diverse relationships actually in these religious books so that people change their attitudes. And I think, you know, it's very sad. And going back to Colorado shooting last night, that guy obviously had psychological issues, but you also look at him, a lot of people that do these crimes, they actually screaming from inside, perhaps he has feelings towards men, and it's been knocked out of him, you know. It might be the society he lives in. I mean, my ex-boyfriend was from Colorado Springs, and I spent 3 months there, and it was very weird to me, because, you know, there were certain things that I could never say to his parents. And he actually said to me, never say that. And it was actually about abortion. And I just thought, that is really sad. That is really sad, because it doesn't make me a bad person. But, you know, and it's the only place in the world that I've ever, every night, had to sit, hold people's hands and say grace. And actually, when I was there, I said to them, I said, look, I'm more than happy to join in and hold your hands. Will you guys say grace? But I won't say amen at the end, because that's me being hypocritical of all your beliefs, because I don't believe. And they were fine with it as long as I went through this whole holding hands while they did their blessing of whatever. Thank you for my lovely day, for everybody that's around. And that's beautiful. It united them. But I think there just is that small mentality still in some of these towns where people aren't exposed and people have it rammed down their throat. That is wrong. That is wrong. And if somebody is a closet, you know, gay or whatever, and he's like, I'm the devil in disguise because I feel something for that man, you know, I am sexually attracted to him. That can cause so many psychological problems. You know, I'm not saying that that was the reason this guy goes and shoots these people, but it could be a catalyst. And I just think as society, we have so much we need to do to accept all this. And I'm going to campaign for the rewriting of the Bible. And I'm going to say, Elon Musk, you can invest some money into the rewriting of the Bible so it accepts everybody, and we're gonna have the rainbow flags flying, and we're gonna make the world a nice place.
Yeah. And Disney is actually one of those companies that they kind of rewrote their Bible in a sense, and they're including a lot of members of the LGBTQIA plus community in their movies. I am a huge fan of Big Hero 6, like Baymax from that movie is one of my favorite characters. And over the summer, they put out a shorts series of him. Are you familiar with Baymax?
No.
Okay, he's really cute.
I don't watch any of that.
All right, I'll give you like the in a nutshell. He is a robot that was built as a healthcare companion. So like if you hit yourself and you're bleeding or whatever, like he'll come and take care of you, and it's really cute. So in this short series, he helped people who were having different medical issues. And in one episode, there was I think she was like maybe in 10 or 11, I don't know, she was in middle school, let's say, and she got her first period, and Baymax came to the rescue. But he went to the supermarket and he was trying to pick out like pads for the little girl, and like women would come up and be like, oh, I use these, or like, oh, I use these. And they included, it was a trans man. So he was assigned female at birth. And he said, like, I prefer these pads. And I thought that was amazing. That's great representation, because it's things that are actually happening. Like you could pretend it's not happening, but you're only fooling yourself. Like, these are these people authentic way of living, and there's nothing wrong with it, and they should see themselves on TV. Do you know that caused an uproar? I'm sure you're not surprised, but that one little character cameo, which was maybe 2 seconds long at the most, caused thousands of like Facebook posts and like just hate commenting, and it's just such a shame.
Yeah, I mean, it does happen, and it's unfortunate. I mean, we had this TV show for kids in the UK, and it was actually called Rainbow, and no one realized that the characters in it were gay. There was like this pink hippopotamus, and he was gay. No one realized, because everyone just took it at face value. It wasn't a time where people actually thought that, actually he's a bit of a, I'm going to say a flower, because George wasn't quite a flower. He was very effeminate, put it that way. But everyone just accepted it. And when it came out that Rainbow was kind of very gay, it got taken off air. I mean, it was like far too soon to even be thinking about that. I mean, I think it was in the UK, must have been 80s. So it was super long time ago.
Wow.
But, when it actually came out that it was kind of like there was gay characters in this kids TV show, because it was meant for like 4, 5, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, it was kind of taken off air. But, I'm from a small mining town, and when I left home, I think at 18, and like I was working at the leisure centre, and one of the sports instructors, James, he was gay, and there wasn't many people in the community that were gay. Well, anyway, James offered me a room in his house, and my then boyfriend couldn't get his head around it. And I was like, what's the problem? He's never gonna, crack onto me. He's a great guy. No one kind of minded working with him. But oh my God, they were, James wore his like swim shorts or whatever for lifeguard practice. People kind of like, oh God, they were just uncomfortable around it. And I was like, wasn't bothered at all. But this was very small town. I mean, I got sent to boarding school. I had seen more of the world. I started working in London, still did this job at weekends or whatever. Yeah. But it was just people are not open to it sometimes.
Yeah, and that's a shame, and it needs to change. It
is a shame, and I think we're so lucky that we live in a city where it's celebrated so much,
Yeah.
And like, the fashion industry has always been celebrated, and I love it. Some of the best fashion designers, we wouldn't have the clothes that we have without, the LBGQT community, some of the most creative, artistic people. And I just think we need to re-educate everybody. Everything needs to be okay. The Bible needs to be rewritten so that people can't use it as a, man and women should be together, because that is BS, absolute BS.
I think that Candace Cameron Bure's use of the word traditional was, even though it's seemingly innocent, because when you hear traditional, there's no negative connotation to it. However, in this context, it's just implying that like marriage should be between a man and a woman, and anyone who's outside of that, well, you're not traditional. And that's where it becomes negative. And I just think in today's society, that is so dangerous. And like you said, with tragedies like that happened in Colorado last night, like we cannot afford to be making these terrible statements. And listen, we're all human. If something happens, take accountability, because I feel like her apology, it wasn't I'm sorry I hurt you. It was like, well, I never meant to hurt anyone. And like, I'm not trying to convert anyone. And, you know, we're going to have people in the movies too, but they're just not going to be the main couple. It was more like a sweep it under the rug. There's a lot of value in saying like, you know what, I thought this was right, but now I see, because you pointed it out to me, that it's wrong, and I'm adjusting my view on it, and thank you. You know, there's just a difference. And I just think that we as a country have a lot better to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like, for so many years, people fought to have equal rights. You know, it took a long time to be able to marry a same-sex partner, you know, and to actually have it as marriage, because it wasn't called marriage for a while. And now it's like, you know, it was like civil partnership or something like that. And, you know, and we've got to a place now where marriage is marriage, no matter if it's man and woman, boy and boy, girl and girl. It's, you've chosen each other, you're spending your life together, hopefully. And by saying the traditional man and woman marriage, it's damaging to all that we as society have worked for, to get equal rights to everyone, you know?
Yeah.
And to have all these beautiful relationships that we have, and very, you know, I was going to say dynamic, but that's the wrong word. But you know what I mean? These such different, such special, diverse, that's the right word. You know, and we've worked so hard to have this diversity accepted, and it's damaging. And I hadn't thought about that until you said what you said. And then I thought, actually, what she does say, it's kind of taking everything that people have campaigned for so long and belittling it.
You're definitely, everything you said was well said. I'm glad that we're both in agreement on this topic, and I'm glad that we can use our platforms to support the right thing. I think, like I said, it's very important, especially nowadays, when I just feel like a lot of government officials are just turning the clock back hundreds of years. So just to know that we are a little light to shine on everyone and let people know they're accepted and feel okay, like that makes me feel good.
Yeah. And it's like on the FNL Network talk show, everybody's accepted. We're such a loving community of people. Yeah. And I think this platform's great because we actually do get to talk about it. We get to talk about what's right, what's wrong. And it is important to voice an opinion, especially as, if one person, say, sees the show and they actually go, actually, these people are so right. I hadn't thought of it that way. And it gets them thinking. That is everything.
Yeah. And like you said, you have to have an opinion. I think silence is complacence. And, it's just, you gotta just do the right thing. That's how I live my life. Do the right thing. Well, Kat. Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said it's definitely the right thing to do. It's, live your life as you want to be treated.
Yeah. Amen, sis, even though you don't say amen, but all right. So I think even though it was just the two of us, I think we held things up pretty good this week. Wouldn't you agree?
I think so. I mean, I feel like we talked about so much. I mean, I could still go and talk all day because, we've had such great topics of conversation today and things that spark off different, thoughts, and everything we talked about today is so important. Even like Thanksgiving travel, because I know there is people that are sweating and stressing about that right now. So I'm just relax, people. Have a bubble bath and don't think about it.
Amen. I want to say that, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a happy, healthy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Kat, for joining me today. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find you?
Mainly on Instagram at Kat Jollies. I also have started TikTok. I'm not very good at this sort of thing, but I'm on TikTok too at Cat Jollies on TikTok. And I have a secret project which is in the works, which you'll find out about through my social media platforms.
Nice. And I'm Diana Gebbia. You can follow me at Diana Gebbia on Instagram and TikTok. Gebbia is spelled Gebbia, by the way. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is another episode of the FNL Network Talk Show, and we'll talk to you next week.
And happy Thanksgiving, guys, from me and everybody at the network.